Breaking tonight, a fragile temporary truce between Israel and Hamas.
I hope that it's going to happen.
A 4-day pause in fighting, hostages in exchange for prisoners, what's expected in the crucial hours ahead. Accusations and political attacks after conservatives vote against a trade deal with Ukraine.
The new Conservative Party and their MPs. What a disgrace.
What's disgraceful and cruel is using Ukraine's vulnerability to shove a carbon tax permanently down their throat.
At Issue breaks down what's behind this fight. And 'tis the season to spend more, or is it?
Just checking out who's selling what, for what discounts.
You can't go shopping the way you used to, right?
This is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. It's now Friday morning in Gaza, and by this point, the deal between Israel and Hamas for a temporary truce should be in effect. So let's take a look. This is the view of Gaza looking in from Israel. It's already well past dawn, where the world will be watching over the next crucial hours to see if this truce holds. Now, Israel says it received the names of 13 hostages Hamas plans to release within hours from now. They are the first of 50 expected to be released over a few days. In turn, Israel plans a staggered release of 150 Palestinians held in its prisons. Gaza also gets increased aid and the first break in nearly 7 devastating weeks of war. For now, the truce is just 4 days, and it starts right now. So Margaret Evans is in Jerusalem. Margaret, the truce deadline has done little to calm the sounds of fighting leading up to it right until the very last second.
That's right, Adrian, and the sun is up here now, and so too a whole lot of hopes that Gaza is going to go quiet and stay quiet long enough to let this truce go ahead. As you say, we're just a few hours now from the deadline by which the Israeli hostages are due to be transferred to Israel with the help of the Red Cross. There are 6 hospitals here in Israel on standby to receive them. It's only after that transfer takes place that the designated number of Palestinian detainees will be released, we believe, at a checkpoint near Ramallah in the occupied territories.
It is one small glimmer of light in this dark conflict, but one still weighed down by dread and the knowledge that the pain is far from over. In Israel, people are willing this first stage to work. 13 Israeli hostages chosen by their Hamas captors for release, expected to be women and children. Ayel Moore's cousin Karen and her 9-year-old son Ohad were taken.
So the uncertainty here is actually killing us, really killing us.
Electrical engineer Haggai Moses says every moment counts for the youngest.
For these children, every moment and every day that he lays underground there in Gaza, his soul dies.
In exchange, 39 Palestinians from this list, women and young men under 19, will be released from Israeli jails, a pattern Palestinian officials hope will repeat on all 4 days of the truce. This deal can signal a start to a change in the general atmosphere of this war, says Kudara Fares. For Gazans, there is relief that it might stop this for a time, but also certainty that their children will once more know the fear cast down by Israeli warplanes. It won't be enough time to heal the look on the face of this boy after an Israeli strike on Han Yunis. What is there to say, he asks. They destroyed the building on top of us. I put my hands over my head and fell to the floor. Rain Semnaban says he's daring to hope the truce will be extended. We want a long-term truce, he says. It means stability. It protects me from starvation, not just from the war. Israel says its war against Hamas won't end, even in the event that all the hostages are released.
When we bring them back, we go on and we defeat Hamas. We'll fight Hamas, we'll take Hamas down.
Israel Defense Forces are still working to peel back the layers of what they say is an underground network of Hamas tunnels beneath Al-Shifa Hospital, eager to prove it to a watching world. Ambulances carrying patients evacuated from hospitals in northern Gaza continue to arrive at those in the south, where Israel says it's safer. But some in the vast sea of Gaza's displaced say they'd like to use the pause to return to homes they've been forced to leave, if only to see if they're still there.
So, Margaret, Palestinian detainees are part of this deal, the hostages held by Hamas, but also a lot more aid for Gaza.
That's right, Adrian. Egyptian authorities are saying that they expect that 4 trucks of gas, 130,000 liters of diesel fuel, and some 200 trucks carrying humanitarian aid will cross each day as long as this truce lasts. Will it be enough? Aid agencies say no. They're going to push for this truce to continue, but that, of course, will depend on events of the ground. If the truce lasts today and the next 3, there is a possibility it could be extended and you will see more hostages released. But it also needs to be said that Israel has been very clear it is anxious not to lose momentum in its war against Hamas.
All right, thank you, Margaret. That's Margaret Evans this morning in Jerusalem. So as this news is breaking, let's bring in Janice Stein, founding director of the Monk School for Global Affairs, for her insight. Thank you for coming in. Right up until the last second before the midnight hour, there were explosions being seen. What does that tell you, firstly, at all, but also what are the chances that this truce will hold?
So, Adrienne, first of all, let's expect explosions for the next few hours. This is what you normally see. I'm optimistic this truce will hold. The designers have mapped this out, have thought about the scenarios, and built in crisis communications lines precisely to deal with this problem.
So you expect it will hold for the 4 days?
Yes.
But then what happens?
Well, that gets interesting because look how they've structured the incentives. For every additional 10 hostages, an extra day, up to 10 days. So the challenge for the people who designed this, they built the architecture right. Will it work? I'm cautiously optimistic.
And that 10-day mark will be a critical mark.
That's the critical decision point. Does the war start again, or does Hamas dangle additional hostages, and does the political pressure grow?
Could we talk about the hostages for a moment? In the next few hours, when this exchange happens, what are you going to be looking for in the images that we see?
You know, we're going to see 2 very different stories. On the West Bank, they will come out of prisoners from Haifa, usually in buses. They will go through a checkpoint, and then they will go back to their villages in the West Bank. And there you will see families, celebrations, often noisy, loud. Think of very different stories for the hostages. They will come across the border. They will be taken directly to hospitals. Be difficult for the cameras actually to get eyes on. They're worried about the physical state of the hostages, and they want to keep them out of public sight.
Okay, fair enough. There's so much more to talk about, so stick around. We'll be back with you in just a few moments, all right? Thanks, Janice. So tensions from the war are being felt here at home after an alarming rise in reported hate crimes in Canada's biggest city. Now, Toronto police say Islamophobic and anti-Semitic incidents have increased significantly. But as Jamie Strachan tells us, there are concerns most incidents are never reported.
Standing in the sanctuary of the First Nariver Synagogue, Rabbi Ed Elkin can't mask his concern.
I'm worried about the extremes in some of the rhetoric that we're hearing.
Reported hate crimes in Toronto have been surging in the weeks since Hamas attacked Israel and the subsequent war.
We want to contribute to the society, to live well with our neighbors, be part of the diversity, and it's so shocking to us and sad that some members of the wider society mean us ill.
According to new numbers from Toronto police, since October 7th, there have been 78 reported hate crimes, a significant year-over-year increase, almost half directed at the city's Jewish community.
Unfortunately, we're also seeing a significant spike in the number of hate crimes being reported in Toronto, which can traumatize not just victims, but all members of the targeted community and beyond.
Toronto's Muslim community is a target too. 17 reported hate crimes compared to only 1 last year in the same time period. Some leaders believe many cases aren't reported.
The vast majority of those people do not want their cases to go public. They want to speak to us. They want to talk about legal support, mental health support, and those types of things.
Police say there's also been a significant rise in hate-related graffiti.
These increases are deeply concerning, and we are committing a significant number of resources to address it.
Amidst all of this, tensions are running high in the two communities.
So I would hope that we'd be able to restore that sense of allyship, but it's a difficult time right now, no doubt. I would say that it's a tough patch for the most part.
As both continue to face so much hate. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
For the first time since a Fifth Estate investigation into Buffy Sainte-Marie's claims to Indigenous heritage, the singer is pushing back tonight in a public statement. Jeff Leo broke the story and has her response.
The Fifth Estate located Buffy Sainte-Marie's birth certificate in the town hall of Stoneham, Massachusetts, contrary to her often repeated claim that she was born in Saskatchewan.
I can say absolutely with 100% certainty that this is the original birth certificate.
In her statement released today, Sainte-Marie says it was quite shocking to hear a city clerk say she had 100% confidence in its authenticity. She added that she had a birth certificate for her whole life, but never knew if it was authentic. However, for decades, she had claimed she had no birth certificate. In her statement, she also points out that it was common for birth certificates of Indian children to be created by Western governments. Sainte-Marie claims that may have happened in this case.
And I think she's grasping at straws, really.
Michelle Good is a retired lawyer from the Red Pheasant Cree Nation in Saskatchewan. She says the details on the certificate indicate to her that it is original.
The weight of the child, the time of the birth, those kinds of things you're not going to see, in my opinion, on a replacement birth certificate.
Sainte-Marie says the most important thing is that she has been adopted by a family on the Piapot First Nation and accepted in the community. She writes that being an Indian has little to do with sperm tracking or colonial record keeping. It has to do with community, culture, knowledge, teaching, who claims you, who you love. Michelle Good disagrees.
That you cannot choose to be Indigenous. It's something that you are born as.
This is all just as new and confusing to us as it is to anyone.
Ira LaValle is the acting chief of the Piapot First Nation. He says people in his community are divided. They were hoping she would make a statement to clear things up. But he says this statement fails to do that.
Again, I wish Buffy would give us a reason to defend her or not.
LaValle says many in his community are still prepared to embrace Sainte-Marie despite the controversy. But he says others are waiting for proof that she does have Indigenous ancestry. To date, Buffy Sainte-Marie has not addressed these issues with CBC. Jeff Leo, CBC News, Regina.
To another Fifth Estate investigation now, which has uncovered a network of fraudsters stealing hundreds of millions of dollars of Canadian tax money. And as Bob McEwen tells us, experts say the government just is not doing enough to stop it.
You need to ask your politicians now.
UK fraud expert Mike Cheatham is a man on a mission. He wants Ottawa to take responsibility for not doing more to prevent your tax dollars from being stolen.
I'm sure the fraud is still going on as we're speaking now.
Cheatham is talking about carousel schemes, where tech-savvy fraudsters from outside Canada set up a series of bogus transactions inside the country. The scammers then claim GST refunds for taxes that were never paid in the first place.
The fault here is with the tax authority. There will always be criminals, and your tax system is wide open for this fraud.
Court documents obtained by the Fifth Estate reveal the Canada Revenue Agency has repeatedly been tricked into paying out millions of your tax dollars. The CRA admits it's identified $1.1 billion in carousel schemes since 2017.
Hello.
We tracked down an alleged operative in one of those schemes in the UK, leaving us to wonder, why hasn't the CRA?
You have to speak with my lawyer.
They found places where they are not yet being investigated and haunted by the authorities, and that would be Canada.
Danish journalist Bo Elkier says European governments have done far more to crack down on these schemes.
You're the sitting duck in huge global organized crime. You're the target.
Minister Bibeau? Federal Revenue Minister Marie-Claude Bibeau declined an interview. In a statement, the CRA told us they've made significant investments in detecting carousel schemes, and they aim to prevent and address them as early as possible. Critics say it's already too late.
You have to face the reality that you've been stolen of money that you're never going to see. The money's gone.
Bob McEwen, CBC News, Toronto.
You can catch Swindling the System on the Fifth Estate tomorrow at 9 p.m. or 9:30 in Newfoundland on CBC Gem and CBC Television. Authorities in Dublin are calling for calm tonight after a knife attack set off violent demonstrations in Ireland's capital. So the chaos erupted near the scene of a stabbing where a 5-year-old girl and a woman in her 30s were seriously injured. 3 others, including children, were hurt. Police detained a man in his 40s. Crowds set fire to vehicles and looted businesses. The Irish police commissioner blamed the demonstrations on, quote, far-right ideology. The motive for the stabbing remains under investigation, but it was believed to be a standalone incident. The Rainbow Bridge border crossing in Niagara Falls reopened late tonight, but investigators are still trying to determine what led to that deadly crash and security scare. As Eva Musa shows us, that made for a jarring sight and an unusually quiet holiday.
Police in western New York State are combing through what little is left behind after a fiery car crash Wednesday abruptly closed the Rainbow Bridge, linking Niagara Falls, Ontario to Niagara Falls, New York. The car on the American side of the bridge suddenly accelerated before flying through the air and exploding into flames. For some, thoughts immediately turned to the possibility of terrorism.
The hair in the back of my neck stood up, and I thought, here we go again.
In the chaos that followed, the Prime Minister and the U.S. President were briefed. 3 other nearby crossings were also closed. The FBI now confirms no explosive materials were found at the scene. Local police have taken over what's being called a traffic investigation. But on this American Thanksgiving weekend, a normally busy travel time, this unusual sight. The Rainbow Bridge empty.
All of a sudden, everybody's holiday plans were halted when the borders closed, and everybody shuddered.
The holiday would normally pack this Indian restaurant on the Canadian side of the border.
I feel so miserable. I don't know what's happening. All of a sudden, the Niagara Falls has nothing in here. This is the weekend when we get so busy. It's Thursday, Thanksgiving weekend, and nobody's around.
Police say the vehicle was incinerated and the 2 occupants are dead. American media is reporting they were a local Western New York couple. To the relief of many here, the Rainbow Bridge behind me has reopened. But the crash and the closure really rattled residents here. The area's economy is still recovering from the pandemic. The hope now is tourists will return. Idil Musa, CBC News, Niagara Falls, Ontario.
High interest rates and high inflation are forcing many Canadians to look for deals.
So we are only window shopping today, just checking out who's selling what, for what discounts.
The changes many are making to their holiday shopping list. A heroic move by a crane operator.
You're witnessing it, but you can't quite believe what you're seeing.
A risky moment to save a life. And the death of journalists in Gaza is sparking calls for change.
The situation is absolutely horrendous.
We're back in 2. Those are the crowds out in New York for the 97th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It was briefly interrupted when about 30 pro-Palestinian protesters reportedly tried to glue themselves to the street. Police detained the demonstrators and the parade resumed. So Black Friday, the unofficial start of holiday shopping, kicks off in a matter of hours. But with the cost of living crisis, Canadians are cutting back. One survey predicts holiday spending is expected to be down 11% this year overall compared to last year. Nisha Patel takes a look at how the shopping season is shaping up in an uncertain economy.
This holiday season, shoppers aren't feeling too festive about their finances.
I think we're more mindful of what do we need to give each other as a gift.
So we are only window shopping today, just checking out who's selling what, for what discounts.
You can't go shopping the way you used to, right?
From the kids' lengthy wish list to that office secret Santa, spending over the holidays can quickly spiral out of control.
Obviously, those holiday dinners are going to cost quite a bit more this year, as is, domestic travel to visit relatives.
Credit card bills have been climbing. Economists say consumers who are trying not to dig into their savings are choosing to cut back on restaurant meals and vacations.
Canadians are feeling the pressure of high prices and higher interest rates. Experts say that will have a big impact on holiday spending.
According to one survey, the average household is planning to spend about $1,350 overall this season. That's down from more than $1,500 the year before. People also said they are planning to donate less to charity and buy fewer gifts. So retailers like Staples are making an extra effort to attract budget-conscious shoppers.
They're looking for value, they're looking for price consciousness, and they're looking for opportunity to shop early.
Sales started earlier this year and the discounts are deeper, though retailers still promise additional deals on Black Friday. With many shoppers opting to choose cheaper items, businesses are stocking a bigger variety of products.
So what we're trying to do is give them options from end to end across all price ranges.
Alan Kaitas was glad to find some 50% off signs at the mall. He's had to tighten his belt this year.
I mean, with 3 kids, we're trying to make the best out of it, right? With some good deals. Hopefully we can have a good Christmas this year.
Even the inflation Grinch won't dash his holiday spirit. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
A construction zone in England became the site of a daring rescue.
There's just this enormous fire across the street.
How a crane operator sprung into action. And Rosie's here with that issue. Hey, Rosie.
Hey, Adrian. Tonight we're going to talk about conservatives voting against a free trade deal with Ukraine.
Now you see Polyev playing shenanigans.
Why are the conservatives taking this position, and what does it mean for our support to the country? Chantal, Andrew, and Althea join me to talk about that and more.
A surprise election win in the Netherlands is being described as a political earthquake. Raising a toast to the Dutch citizens, Geert Wilders celebrated the victory of his far-right Freedom Party, which captured the most seats. He's long been known for his anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, and anti-European Union views. Wilders now begins the challenging task of building a governing coalition with other parties. Returning now to the Israel-Hamas war and an independent report stating the offensive in Gaza has led to the deadliest month on record for journalists in a war zone. Chris Brown now with the IDF's response and what those covering the conflict are being forced to endure.
Asuna Salim knew his job could get him killed. As journalists in Gaza, we're subject to being targeted, he said on Instagram. Saturday morning, he shot this video of the aftermath of an Israeli strike on the Boreja refugee camp. Hours later, he was among 31 people killed in a follow-up strike on the same area. His devastated family, now sheltering at a Gaza school, spoke to a Palestinian journalist working for CBC News. He didn't have a tank or a plane or weapons to fight back, said his mother. My son died because he was trying to deliver the voice of truth. Besides Gaza, 3 journalists in Lebanon have been killed by Israeli strikes, 2 of them on Tuesday, making this the deadliest month since casualty records started being kept 30 years ago, says this advocate.
So the situation is absolutely horrendous. What we're seeing really is the elimination by Israel of journalism in Gaza.
In a statement to CBC News, Israel's military said the IDF has never and will never deliberately target journalists, but then added certain journalists who were reportedly killed were active terror operatives.
Israel says it is not deliberately targeting journalists, but at the same time it has refused to put the protections in place that are required under international humanitarian law to ensure that journalists in conflict can continue their jobs safely.
Zero. There's no safe place.
Min Kudari is a freelancer who regularly files for Turkish television.
We don't have a place to sleep and we're displaced and we're also striving to have food just like hundreds of thousands of other people.
There's also a vicious information war to contend with. An Israeli politician said journalists should be hunted down after a false account was posted that some took part in the October 7th massacres. Reporters Without Borders is among the groups calling for an end to the dangerous rhetoric and for the International Criminal Court to investigate the killing of journalists. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
So now let's break down the news shaping our world, starting with that breaking news out of the Middle East. So a truce between Israel and Hamas should now be in effect. This is the view from Israel looking into Gaza. The smoke is billowing from explosions that happened just before that truce was declared. That delicate deal includes a 4-day pause in fighting. So now the next key phase, the release of Israeli hostages held by Hamas, is supposed to be just hours away. Here's another perspective. This is a view from inside Gaza. This is at a hospital in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. Many people there are sheltering at that hospital after being forced to flee the northern part of Gaza, where there has been intense fighting for weeks. But now that's expected to stop over the next 4 days. So joining us now is Janice Stein, the founding director of the Munk School of Global Affairs. So much to talk about here. I want to start with the aid that is expected to start flowing into Gaza pretty soon. How critical is that aid at this point?
It is really dire in Gaza right now, Adrienne. There's not enough water. There's not enough food. We are starting to see early signs of dysentery, which comes from a lack of clear water. And of course, the most controversial part of this, fuel. Trucks, 4 trucks will cross immediately, and about 200 trucks a day, as long as this pause truce holds.
Those trucks with the fuel aim for the hospital.
They're aimed for the hospitals. Of course, you know the allegations that Hamas was able to siphon off fuel from the hospitals. I imagine this will be supervised by the Palestinian Red Cross as it goes in.
Some of the UN officials, like Lynn Hastings, a Canadian, had said to us that when the fuel comes across, it is tracked in coordination with the Israelis. There are trackers, there's satellite imagery, there's drones, that they know exactly how much fuel is going through and exactly where it's going to and exactly how it's being used. Is that going to satisfy?
Yes, I think it will. And that's partly because the situation in northern Gaza has changed so much. None of the hospitals are functioning there, and partly because those trackers are now in place. It's critical, though, that those hospitals get fuel in the south, given the number of wounded and badly injured kids, mothers, that are happening every day.
So let's talk about this exchange of the hostages and the people being kept, the Palestinians in the Israeli prisons. Step by step, can you walk us through what we should all be looking for in just a few hours' time, really?
Well, this will start, I think the part we will see first is Palestinian women and mainly young boys who threw stones, participated in demonstrations that turned violent. They will be released first. You know, it's a 3-to-1 ratio. They will likely board buses. Those jails are in the north of Israel, just south of Haifa. They will come down. There will be one final check at OFAC, and then they will wait. And only when the hostages are in Israel, are arrived in Israel, will they board buses again and go to their villages in the West Bank. That's when I think reporters will see them most clearly, because they will return to their families. There will be celebrations. Despite the best efforts of Ben-Gvir to stop that, there will be celebrations in those villages.
So that what you just said is an interesting point, because that's the national security minister who has said, seems to have told that the police and the military do everything you can to make sure there aren't scenes of wild celebrations when those prisoners come out. Why?
Well, first of all, this is the one among two of the most right-wing ministers in what is already a hard right government in Israel. Why? Because they do not want these scenes of joy and celebration in the West Bank. And I think in part, because we're not going to see the same thing on the other side. We're not going to see those scenes of celebration in Israel.
Because the hostages, as we understand it, there's a very delicate procedure for once they come across, then they go to the hospitals. They will be protected by security, private wings of the hospitals, and then becomes sort of a medical process and a security process. And then, I mean, the details of what's about to happen to them are very precise.
Very, very, very scripted. Now, why is this? One, there's a lot of concern about the physical condition of these hostages. You know, very minimal food, one meal a day likely, no sunlight. In addition, some of these, 3 of them are very, very young children. Very concerned that they not be bombarded by the press and even by their families. So that's problem number 1, and I think that process will take 24 to 36 hours. Second concern here is last time 2 women were freed. One of the women held a press conference immediately. It was an unscripted press conference. I think that is what they're trying to avoid.
One last thought. We don't have much time left. Can you look forward for us? What's going to be the critical thing to watch for?
We have to watch that every day. Those lists are sent over of names. I'm optimistic that we will get through the next 4 days. But will this process extend to 10? Reasonably confident, big, big decision coming at the end of those 10 days.
Janice, your insight is always really important, really valuable. Thank you for
Pleasure
coming
to be
in.
with you.
Appreciate it. So next, a heated exchange over a deal with Ukraine.
The last thing they need is a carbon tax.
An absolute red herring.
Why the parties are at odds over a trade deal. Rosie's here with that issue next.
At issue this week, Conservatives voted against a free trade agreement with Ukraine, which promotes carbon pricing.
The last thing they need is a carbon tax.
But it's something Ukraine must do to join the EU.
An absolute red herring.
So why are the Conservatives taking this stance? Hi there, I'm Rosemary Barton, here to break it down this week. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Althea Raj. Andrew, let me start with you. What do you make of the Conservative argument about why they couldn't support this free trade deal with Ukraine?
Well, in substantive terms, it's nonsense. Nobody's imposing a carbon tax on anybody. There's language in there about they'll work together, blah, blah, blah. To the extent that Ukraine is going towards carbon pricing, carbon taxes, it's because they want to join the EU, not because they want to have a free trade treaty with Canada. So it's all nonsense from a substantive point. There's 2 possibilities in terms of what they're doing politically. The best case scenario is they see the word carbon and they're knee jerks and they can't help themselves, and or they're trying to appeal to that part of their base and make sure that they can't be on record as ever supporting anything that had carbon in it. More disturbingly is the possibility that they're winking at that section of their base and of the People's Party that has, because they get all their news from Fox News, et cetera, is also anti-Ukraine. I don't for a minute think that the Conservative Party is in any danger of abandoning Ukraine. If Paul ever tried that, he'd lose a few front benchers for one thing. But I don't think he's above the quiet little wink or nod that is relatively harmless, he thinks, in other respects, because the free trade treaty will be passed anyway, but can keep that element that might stray, keep them on board. But he's playing with fire, because if there's one thing he could do to blow this lead they've got, it's to start to revive fears that the Conservatives can't be trusted, that they are Trump light or are willing to indulge that kind of politics. So far, he's been able to get away with it because he's basically appealed more to the nutty part of that constituency than the nasty part. So it's World Economic Forum, it's digital currencies, but it's not anti-immigration or anti-Ukraine. But the minute he starts any kind of nod in that direction, he risks raising those kinds of fears. And you could certainly see the Liberals working overtime to try to make that suggestion.
Even if it's just about the carbon tax, as Mr. Poilievre is portraying it, Chantal, though, it is at very least misrepresenting the facts about what the deal is about and why Ukraine and Canada might want that language in there.
Well, I'm guessing that national sovereignty still exists, even for Ukraine, and the Ukraine government did sign on to this free trade agreement. So the notion that Canada is imposing a carbon tax or carbon pricing on Ukraine, that actually does not exist. They are totally free to decide what they do about carbon pricing and how they do it. And nothing in this agreement means that they need to do anything more about it. I went online and on social media, and I tried to find, because the Conservative Party has a good foreign affairs critic called Michael Chong, so I tried to find his speech, his rationale for the vote. He did vote with the rest of the party, and I couldn't find it. And I find it passing strange on something as important that I could not find many traces of what the foreign affairs critic, a serious person, had to say about it.
So what do you think is going on here then, Althea?
Well, I agree with a lot of the points that Andrew made. I will add another one. Well, first of all, the OECD informs me that actually Ukraine has a price on carbon already. Small price, but a price already. Also that the EU just last month started their border adjustment tariffs. Yeah. So if Ukraine does want to trade with the European Union, it is in its best interest to have a price on carbon. I think there's possibly another suggestion to why Mr. Poilievre took the stance he did. If he believes he will form government, he's binding his own hands by voting for such an agreement, in the sense that he would have to amend it if he wants to scrap the carbon price in Canada. So I think that's a possibility. I will say, though, that I think it's not just people who, as Andrew described them, nasty people who are opposed to Ukraine, but I think there is a lot of people in this country that are not necessarily conservatives who don't understand why Canada is spending so much money abroad fighting wars, and they believe that that money would be better spent in Canada fighting homelessness, fighting addiction. And so it's, I mean, and you see those messages on Fox News, and Andrew rightly points out a lot of Canadians do get their news from American sources. So I think it can be both things at once. It is a curious position, and you kind of see that maybe they realized that the stance they took was the wrong one, and they're kind of backpedaling it.
But it's
Chantal, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It's still very rare that any embassy or foreign representation in this country comes out and says, we have no problem with carbon pricing, as the Ukraine representatives in Canada did, in clear, putting themselves in contradiction with the rationale put forward by the leader of the opposition who is leading to be prime minister.
Right.
And what that does is make it a dubious call by the official opposition, because at the end of the day, people are looking at Pierre Poilievre saying, this would be my next prime minister. And I'm not too sure that he actually backs Ukraine on this, something that a vast majority of Canadians, including conservatives, believe should be the position of Canada.
And it's of a piece, in a way, with his tendency to pick fights with the media, for example. It's this kind of campus politics, too clever by half, tactically smart, strategically stupid, where you score a point for this news cycle or with that particular target group, but you lose sight of the bigger picture of how are you branding yourself as a party and yourself as a leader, and do you, in fact, look like a prime minister when you're behaving this way, or do you look like a leader of the opposition? And if, are you running to be the leader of the opposition, or are you running to be the prime minister? On days like this, he looks like he's running to be the leader of the opposition.
Yeah, he went on the offensive today, attacking a reporter who asked a question about something he said yesterday when he asked the Prime Minister that there were media reports about what happened at Rainbow Bridge at the border crossing. And that's how he chose to answer the question. Do you agree with that, Althea, that perhaps not even take what happened today, but the stance on Ukraine around the carbon tax in some ways would have Canadians questioning whether he's prepared to do the job of Prime Minister?
I don't know, but you look at polling and it does suggest that a great number of people are parking their support with the Conservative Party, not because of some great love-in with Pierre Poilievre, but rather because they're disenchanted with the Liberal government, they're tired with the Liberal government, they desire change. And yes, Mr. Poilievre's numbers, his approval numbers have gone up. He's in positive territory last time I checked. But it's not, I don't think the case against Pierre Poilievre has been prosecuted, and I don't think he did himself any favors this week on the Ukrainian deal or in the House of Commons yesterday when he spoke about media reports regarding terrorism at the border, in the sense that he chose to blame the Prime Minister and portray, the government as being lax on terrorism without really having the facts at his fingertips. And the attack that you talked about earlier this morning, where he went really aggressively against a Canadian press reporter in Toronto. It doesn't even appear that the information that he gave out is factually accurate, suggesting that it was CTV who had reported that it was terrorism. It seems CTV says they only said that after Mr. Poilievre had said that in the House of Commons. But this desire to constantly attack anyone who challenges you, the reporter even asked the question in a pretty nice way, quite frankly. It wasn't an aggressive stance, but to basically kill anyone, try to kill anybody who criticizes you publicly, that is not the skill that I think a lot of people will be looking for in a leader.
Chantal.
It will be very hard to sell a leader who is turning out to be an intellectual bully, especially one who picks on people who are smaller than him, in the sense that the journalist asking a question is smaller than someone who is the leader of a major party. And I don't know what is being said outside Quebec in the other language, but I was on a panel today, and the words I used associated with Pierre Poilievre, and they are gaining currency, is that he is someone who will lie whenever it suits his purpose.
Last word to you, Andrew.
Well, it depends what kind of leader you're looking for. It used to be we looked for leaders, we wanted to look up to them. We wanted leaders, and we looked up to them because they were able to rise above these kind of petty squabbles. This is small and insecure, and it appeals to people who want a leader they don't have to look up to, who's just as small and insecure as they are. That's not the kind, I think, that most Canadians are looking for. I think they want people who are uniters and not dividers, where people are trying to appeal to the best of us and not the worst in us.
Okay, we're going to leave it there for now. Thank you all very much. And with that, I'll send things back to Adrian in Toronto.
Thank you, Rosie. Next, a harrowing rescue on a high-rise.
The cage that he was lowering was starting to spin.
The close call caught on video in our moment. That is thick black smoke billowing out of a building under construction in England today. That immediately grabbed everyone's attention, but a different kind of drama held the attention. So on the roof of that building was a man trapped by the flames and smoke. And as the crowd below watched, an incredible rescue played out. Tonight, the quick action of a crane operator is our moment.
It's one of those, you're witnessing it, but you can't quite believe what you're seeing. We were just over the road in another office, and then just suddenly all the fire alarms started going off, and there's just this enormous fire across the street. We noticed that there was the gentleman stuck on the roof. So the crane operator turned one way, reached down to pick up the device. He was able to lift it up and get it over, but what isn't quite clear in the video is that there was actually quite a strong wind. So the cage that he was lowering was starting to spin, and the man that he was trying to rescue is signaling, saying it's spinning, you can't get in. That went on for about 30 seconds to a minute. until he was able to settle it and then actually get into the cage and be lifted off the roof. Everyone started to applaud. Just off camera, there was a group of workmen who were working in that building who all started cheering and applauding and showing the crane operator some praise. A lot of people are saying that he deserves a medal, which I would echo.
An amazing moment. So that crane operator, 65-year-old Glenn Edwards, clearly an unflappable man. Someone asked him what happened, and he said, I saw the man on the roof. Someone told me to lower the crane. I did, and I got him out. There you go. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.